Welcome to Herself Reclaimed. I'm Jennifer Soames, an integrative health and capacity coach, helping women rebuild their energy and capacity so they can make effective decisions, set stronger boundaries, and create sustainable success in life and in business. Today, I am joined by Bina Thakkar. Let me share a little bit about her, and then we'll dive into some really great conversation today. Bina has spent over 30 years working in the world of software and IT, starting out in India helping small businesses, and then moving into corporate life here in the US. It's been a great journey, but recently Bina decided it was time for a change. She took a step back, gave herself space to reset, and chose to start something new. Now she works as an AI consultant, helping small business owners and founders understand the use of artificial intelligence without all the tech jargon or overwhelm. Her goal is to make it feel approachable and useful. Outside of work, Bina loves to travel, mentors youth, and volunteers with ECHAL, a group that supports education in rural communities in India. She firmly believes AI is not just for techies, it's for all of us. And there are real, simple ways it can support your lifestyle, keep you safe, and even bring a little more joy to your day. Her philosophy in life is live with intention, grow through reinvention, and lead with heart. I love that philosophy. Well, welcome, Bina. Let me bring you in here. Great. Welcome. It's so great to have you here today.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for the awesome intro.
What an amazing career and story. And you're just getting started with this next chapter.
That's right. That's
How
right.
so exciting. Well, as you know, preventing burnout is the focus of my work with clients. And many of our viewers and listeners want to avoid sliding down that slippery slope. And you yourself have some experience with that. What were some of the early signs of burnout that you overlooked when you were in corporate? And what ultimately led you to step into entrepreneurship?
Um, the signs were everywhere. Um, and sorry, first of all, thank you for having me here. I should have said that first. And thank you for allowing me to talk about my work. Um, so to answer your question, the signs were everywhere. I just didn't want to see them. I was
Mm,
dreading Monday mornings despite genuinely loving my work. That disconnect was the first clue.
mm,
I also started saying yes to everything because I thought that's what leaders do. But I was executing someone else's vision, not my own. The physical exhaustion was real. My health suffering, that was real. And weekends really could not fix it anymore. And I'd lost sense of purpose beyond just hitting targets. Um, Here's what I didn't realize then. Burnout hit an all-time high of 66% in 2025, according to Modern Health Research. 82% of employees are now at risk, and I was part of that statistic without knowing about it. The most striking part, uh, women experience burnout at a much higher rates than men, something I understand very deeply now. Uh, Also, the pandemic gave me permission to pause and ask the question, what do I actually want? And honestly, I realized I had 30 years of expertise, but I wasn't using it to create something meaningful. I wanted to work with people, not just optimize their workflows from behind a desk. Um, so I made a choice at that point, and I needed to reset before I could reinvent. Like my life mantra that you said in your introduction, live with intention, grow through reinvention, and lead with heart. So I didn't leave because I failed. I left because I finally knew what success should look like for me. And I'm not alone. Nearly 50% of employees report feeling overworked, undervalued, and are making similar choices in 2025. I hope that answers the question.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that and bringing in some statistics because I know as I've researched some stats on women and burnout lately myself, that in the past year, according to one study, is that 50% of women felt burnt out at one point or another in this past year. So, like you were in good company. And for those of you listening, like you are also in good company if you are starting to feel that way, or maybe you've felt that way for a long time. I really love these points that you brought up about like dreading Monday mornings. It's like enjoying the work, but it's just like you wake up and you go, ugh, like want to do anything except get up and go to work. And then what you mentioned about essentially like living out someone else's vision that wasn't your own. And I think, especially as women step into this phase of life when they're getting into their 40s, 50s, it's a new stage where maybe children are older if they have kids. And there is that question of like, why am I doing this? And is this actually creating meaning and purpose in my life? And I know in the Duke health and well-being coaching framework that I have been trained in as a coach, like meaning and purpose is one of those key elements of health. And that was something that you were missing for yourself in that job.
Yep, absolutely. I could not sleep on Sunday nights and I knew I had to make a change.
Yeah. That, yeah, those warning signs that are kind of like a big wake up call that we tend to ignore. And so if you're listening at home and you are identifying with what Bina said, like can't sleep Sunday nights, dreading Monday mornings, that is something to pay attention to for sure.
Yep.
So many women entrepreneurs feel pressure to do something with AI, but aren't sure where to start. What's your process for helping them start and identifying problems to solve with AI before even talking about tools? Because there's so many tools out there, and a lot of times we just want to like throw all the tools at everything. But where do you help people start?
I've been through the same problem myself, but my approach to every single project is the same: clarity before tools. And it
Mm,
starts with one simple question: what's taking up your time that you wish it wasn't? That's a question I ask every single time to myself. I started this with myself, and that's what I bring to my clients as well. Um, from there, once you ask that question, from there, we map their current workflows, and I'm looking at five specific things when I go through this process. I ask five questions: what's messy? What's
mm,
manual? What's frustrating? What's repetitive? And what's stealing hours from your week?
mm-hmm.
Um, I help them see they have a business problem, not a technology problem. I always try to drive the conversations towards that because technology has always been around. There's new technology that comes out every day. But if it cannot be applied to solve problems, it's just another shiny toy.
True.
And this matters more than ever because women are 11% according to stats. You can see I like bringing stats into conversations
I love it.
just to make them real, right? I mean, we're not just talking, it's based on a lot of studies. So it matters because more than ever, um, women are 11% less likely than men to see the benefits of AI for their business, according
Hmm.
to a report. That gap exists because we are being sold tools instead of solutions. So let me give you a real example here.
Yeah,
I
please.
worked with yeah, thank you. I worked with a physical therapist, brilliant at her work, drowning in admin work. During our 4-hour discovery session, Uh, her phone rang 3 times. She spent a full hour handling appointments, new appointments, rescheduling, and insurance pre-authorizations. So I asked her, how much time does this take on a typical day? These activities, right? Appointments, insurance pre-authorizations. And she said 1 to 2 hours. That's 25% of her workday, which meant she was
Wow.
working evenings to make up for it. That's time stolen from her family.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
when she asked me, why should I spend money on AI? I flipped that question. I told her, you're not spending on AI, you're spending to get back 8 to 10 hours a month. That's 8 more patients you can see. That's real revenue you're leaving on the table, not to mention the time stolen from your kids.
Right.
See, most people think they need chat GPT. Ask some questions, check the AI box, done. I know AI. But what they really need is the workflow redesigned first. AI doesn't fix broken processes, it just makes them faster. And
Mm.
nobody needs chaos at scale.
Right.
According to research, another stat, 47% of new businesses now use Gen AI, but only the ones who redesign first see real results. So we always start the same way. What outcome do you actually want? More clients, more time, better quality of life. Once we know that, then we can talk about tools.
That is brilliant because it really is a business problem, not so much a technology problem. Because we tend to think that technology is going to just solve all of our problems. But like you said, it's the processes that are broken. And, AI tools and things are meant to support all those things, but they don't necessarily always fix them if it's kind of like trying to put a band-aid on something that really needs like to just be redone, right? Trying to
Yeah.
like patch things rather than just tear it down and start over. And that's really interesting about the like 11%. Was it less likely to adopt AI or
Adapt. Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
that's interesting. And yet women seem to be the ones that are stretched thin or at least are willing to admit that they are. I know men are stretched thin too, and yet women tend to talk about it more. And a great example with the physical therapist because it wasn't just about making things faster, right? Because these tools definitely make things faster. Like, trust me, I know. Like, I use AI in my business, and it is incredibly fast. And yet, when you can translate that into hours, either
Hmm.
that you can use for whatever you want, family time, or to actually generate more revenue in your business, like you said, those dollars left on the table. And if you can't see the bigger picture of why this matters and what this can do for you, then someone definitely needs to reach out to you so they can understand what can actually change to give them more time, to give them more revenue. And we talk about needing more space to breathe and being able to to bring in someone like you can just help create more space to breathe, not to mention more revenue.
Yeah. Once you translate a problem into time saved and revenue generated, then then people start understanding, and that process to go through that process is very important.
Absolutely. And I love how you bring it back to asking people that you work with, like, what is it that you really want? Because I know I ask my clients about what is your vision, like, and I think when we lose sight of what our vision is, whether it's for optimal health, whether it's for business growth, and usually they do go hand in hand, right? When we're business owners, when we lose sight of that, then everything we do, all the actions that we take are not like they're for naught, but there tends to be a misalignment when we lose sight of the vision. And so I love that you bring that into the businesses that you're working with as well.
And it's interesting when you ask someone their vision, and it's about their, when we are having business talks, people normally relate it to their business, more revenue, more projects, more all of that. And I really have to ask that question again. What is that? What is it that you really want? I mean, what is
Mm-hmm.
this business? How is this business serving you? And then we get down to the real answers. I need more time, I need more freedom, I need more money, whatever it is. So we really have to dig deep and ask those questions.
Absolutely, because as the women who I tend to work with experience is like they've created really successful businesses and lives, but it's slowly like eroding them away on the inside. And so I love that you dig deeper because you can have a really successful business, but sometimes at what expense to yourself?
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And there certainly are a lot of myths and misconceptions around AI. So I'm curious of which myths and misconceptions do you see most often, especially among women entrepreneurs, since 11% of them are, you know, need more convincing. And how do you help them move from fear to confidence in making decisions about AI in their business?
Yep. The biggest myth that AI is coming for my job. But here's the truth. AI doesn't replace expertise, it amplifies it.
Mm,
But this fear is real. Um, Harvard research found that women are adopting AI at significantly lower rates than men, largely because women question whether it's ethical to use these tools.
mm,
Now, here are some myths that I hear constantly. I'll go through them one by one. The top few that I think are most relevant. The first one being AI is going to replace me. Actually, AI makes your expertise more valuable. It handles the repetitive stuff, the boring stuff, so you can focus on the strategic thinking only you can do. Another one, I need to understand the technology. No, you need to understand your business problem. Again, we're coming back to that. Understand your
mm-hmm.
own business well. I don't ask my clients to become engineers. I just ask them to be honest about what's broken, what needs attention. Um, Here's another one. AI is only for tech companies. Every business has repetitive tasks. Every business is eligible to use AI. According to Intuit QuickBooks or 2025 survey, 68% of small businesses now use AI regularly. That's up from 48% last year. If you're
Wow.
copying and pasting, you're a candidate for AI. Here's another one. It's too expensive or complicated for someone like me. Some of the best solutions are free. Gmail has smart replies. That's AI.
Mm,
Canva, if
true.
you're using that tool for designing, has magic tools. That's AI. So you're already using it in some shape or form. So I start my clients with one small win. Maybe it's just automating client intake emails, maybe it's drafting multimedia posts, something tangible that they can see working in their business within, let's say, a few hours, a day, or a week. I'll give you an example. A small e commerce retailer that I worked with implemented AI powered product recommendations, and they saw their average cart size increase 15% within 6 weeks.
Wow.
They didn't need a tech team, they just needed clarity on the problem they're trying to solve. Then, after this, I reframe. AI is a junior assistant, not a replacement. You are still the expert. You're still making the decisions. You just got help with the grunt work. And the confidence comes when they realize wait, I don't have to be that tech person to use this effectively. I just need to know what I want to achieve, the outcome, right?
Right.
That shift from tech problem to business problem, that's when everything changes for them. Fear
Right.
always lives in the unknown. So once they see it working for their business, that fear for AI disappears.
Absolutely, you're right with the fear living in the unknown because if we don't know something, then it's hard to trust it, to know what it can actually do to benefit us. And like full transparency, like because I was disabled for the last 5 years and was in kind of, I would call it like a cave for the better part of six, like AI was all brand new to me until earlier this year, even, I should, in mid 2025. I had never even seen, let alone used ChatGPT or any other tool. And so as I have really created this business, Herself Reclaimed, I got exposed to a lot of the tools. And I really realized that it wasn't about, yeah, doing anything that I couldn't do, but like pulling things out of me. Like that's how I use AI a lot, is like how to extract sometimes the knowledge that is like in my head, like how to bring it out. And same for any other business owner. Like it can extract and then, like you said, like enhance and augment what you're already doing. And it's not about replacing you, but it's, I love that like junior partner take on it because yeah, it really is when you use it in a particular strategic way.
Yeah, yours is a very inspiring story as well. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, thank you. So there
Yeah.
are a lot of challenges that arise when running your own business, as we both know. And for those of you watching
Yep.
who are business owners, you know lots of challenges come up. And you said that AI is most effective when the problem is clearly defined. How can a business owner start identifying which processes to improve first?
That's a good question. I get asked that question also. I mean, where do I start? I mean,
Yeah.
everything is broken for me, or there's so many things that are broken. Where do I start? So I ask my clients to notice that Sunday night dread again, right?
Mm.
You know that feeling when you're thinking about Monday morning and there's that one task that makes you groan. That's your starting point. And I use three simple filters to help them prioritize. Frequency is one. How often are you doing this work? If it's daily, it's a high priority candidate. How long does it take? Time is another factor. How long does it take? If it's eating hours every week, the ROI is immediate. I mean, you'll see the difference right away. Research shows that time management is the biggest challenge for new business owners. We should know, with
Mm-hmm.
over 40% saying they don't have enough time to do everything. How can we, right? There's so much to do. The third filter I use is energy drain. Does it leave you exhausted? Sometimes a 15-minute task feels like it takes it's taking 3 hours because it's so mentally draining. Those matter too. So the low hanging fruit, I mean, I'm sorry. So identifying those low hanging fruit is what we do through the process. Um, Usually, the best places to start are client onboarding emails. You're sending the same message with different names,
Mm-hmm.
meeting notes and follow ups. You're retyping what you just discussed. Social media drafting. This happens to me a lot, staring at a blank screen every time because I'm just not that creative.
Mm-hmm.
Proposal creation. 80% of the content is the same, 20% changes. These are high frequency, high impact, and honestly, boring sometimes. So these are all perfect candidates. Um, One of the businesses I was working with, we didn't really take that further, but I read about, I found out about automating their document processing and cutting processing time by 62%. That's not rocket science. That's also one of an easier workflow to automate and save time with. It was you have to identify that repetitive bottleneck that you have in your processes. So here's my simple rule. If you've done that, if you've done something more than 3 times the same exact way, it's a candidate for automation or simplification. And the goal isn't to automate everything. The goal is to free yourself from the tasks that don't require your expertise so you can focus on the ones that you do. So that's how I go about helping folks
That's perfect. Yeah,
identify.
looking for that low hanging fruit of those things where you wake up Monday morning and you go, I really don't want to do that. And the things that you did, like you said, do 3 times or more that could then be automated in some way. And you really nailed it, I think, at the end, talking about it's not about automating everything, right? Because I think we as humans, like, you call a number, it's you don't talk to a human, right? You have to go through like a whole phone tree, everything is automated. And he's like, how many times do you go, representative, 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 can I just talk to somebody? And I think that when it comes to some of the fear around AI, and I was actually having a conversation with a family member not too long ago about this, is like, well, I don't, all the chat bots and everything, and, just want to talk to somebody. But that's what this can actually do for you is to allow you to automate things that can be automated that don't necessarily need that kind of human. I mean, that does require a human touch. Yes, there's always a human in the loop, but that onboarding emails that can be sent out where you don't have to be behind your computer hitting send, so that you can have the time to free up and have those really meaningful human to human interactions, because it's not about taking more human interaction away, it's actually creating more meaningful human interaction.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. I when I started my career 25 years, 30 years ago in India. My first job was with a stockbroker, and computers were very new at that time. They'd just come to India. I was going through a diploma. I was going through training for computers, and so the first day of my job, my boss comes to me and says, "Here is the book, here is the computer, computerize it." And I'm like, okay, I need more than that. I need to know the process. What goes into this book? What? So we went
Right.
through that whole thing, and then I realized I'm not the person who can do that. I can put everything's in the book, do the data entry, and put it in the computer, but I don't know how to program things. So I ended up hiring someone, and I learned programming from that person. So it boils down to that. You just can't say, just do it, and let's automate everything. As a manager, I used to always ask my team, when they wanted to write snazzy code, I would be like, how much time is it going to take? Maybe a week. I'm like, how long does this task take? 15 minutes? How many times do we do this in a week? Maybe twice in a month. I'm like, nah, it's not a candidate for automation. So it
Yeah,
works both. You have to you have to talk through the process and identify which processes are candidates for automation and which are not.
absolutely. And yeah, I am learning all of these tools and figuring out where they fit into my own business, and yet, like, I really do see so much value in the time that a lot of them save me. And there's much less to be afraid of the more that you learn about it, and the more that you can free up the time to be able to enjoy other things in life, right? Because it's not all about work, work, work. I mean, we're in these businesses to help other people, and yet, like, there's life outside of work too,
Yeah.
which, like, alignment with one's values is really important to our audience and to my coaching process. And ethics and values are clearly very important to you too, as you mentor youth and volunteer outside of work. And as we kind of go back into talking about ethics, there is a lot of talk around ethics in AI. And you emphasize responsible AI as foundational, not optional. For women building sustainable businesses, what does that actually mean in practice? And what risks do you see when businesses skip this responsible AI step?
Yep, that's a topic that's very dear to my heart. So when I say responsible AI, I'm not talking about compliance, checkboxes, or even ethical theater, right? I'm talking about building AI systems that won't blow up in your face 6 months from now. And we are seeing the consequences of skipping these steps play out in real time. We hear of it in the news all the time. In practice, responsible AI comes down to three non negotiables, according to me, in the framework that I work within with my clients. Number one, know what's happening under the hood. If you cannot explain how your AI makes decisions, you cannot defend those decisions to a customer, employee, or a regulator. Case in point, Air Canada's chatbot told a customer about a non existent bereavement fare discount. The company tried to deny responsibility, but a tribunal ruled they were liable for their chatbot statements.
Wow.
Transparency isn't optional. Number two, protect what matters: data privacy, bias mitigation, human oversight. These aren't nice to haves only. Recent research shows that 70% of women entrepreneurs identified training on AI as a critical requirement, but many still lack access to tools they can trust. For women building sustainable businesses, reputation is the business model. One
Mm-hmm.
misstep can destroy trust you spent years building, right? I take it very seriously. Number three, keep humans in the loop. We keep hearing that phrase when we talk about AI, human in the loop. AI should augment human judgment, not replace it. Um, so here's another example that I came across. New York's New York City has this chatbot called My City. My City chatbot falsely claimed that business owners take workers' tips, fire employees for reporting sexual harassment, and serve food nibbled by rodents. This isn't hypothetical. This is happening right now. So when you skip, what are the risks when you skip responsible AI, right?
Yeah.
Here's what I see when businesses skip responsible AI. Shadow AI proliferation. Now, shadow AI is a term that is being that you must have seen a lot these days. What does it mean? Uh, Teams or employees start using tools that leadership doesn't know about. So now you've got data leaking into systems you don't control. You don't even know what you don't know.
Wow.
So that's a risk if unless you are in a responsible you're following a responsible AI framework. Another risk is brand damage you can't recover from. So AI related incidents have been just going up starting from 2023 into 2024, according to Stanford report. There was this one very interesting news piece that I'd come across. McDonald's had to shut down their AI drive-through after viral videos showed it adding 260 chicken nuggets to orders.
Oh my gosh.
So women and entrepreneurs especially cannot afford that kind of hit. 57% of women report experiencing online gender-based violence on social media. AI tools that aren't carefully designed can amplify this harm.
Mm.
Then there's dependency on AI without understanding. That's also a risk you run. You build your whole process around an AI tool, and then the company changes, let's say, terms, raises prices, or shuts down. Now what? You don't own the knowledge anymore. AI models can perpetuate biases present in their training data, restricting women's access to finance or stereotyping women consumers. That's a serious problem.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But here's the flip side. When you do responsible AI right, it becomes a competitive advantage. You can tell your clients, we protect your data, we audit our systems, we keep humans accountable. That builds trust faster than any other marketing campaign ever would. So, small businesses that implement AI strategically are seeing 15% cart size increases, 12% retention improvements, but only when they do it responsibly. One question I get asked uh, every time is, I'm a small business. Do I really have to go through all of these steps for responsibly implementing a solution? And my answer is undoubtedly yes, because as a small company, if you get hit by something you did not take care of, you will be shut down. You will not be able to bear that loss.
Mm-hmm.
Responsible AI isn't a constraint on innovation, it's the foundation. Like I always say, it's the foundation for sustainable innovation. It's how you build something that lasts, not just, I mean, it, it, it's how you build something that lasts. I mean, not
Right.
just something that scales, right? I mean, and in a world where enterprises now lose close to 67 billion globally due to AI hallucinations, doing it right isn't optional anymore.
Right. And I love how you bring that up as it's the foundation, right? That is the scaffolding on which everything else can be built because you need to have that transparency to really understand what is it that you have created. Because, yeah, if it goes unchecked, it's like you have to do those self audits. Otherwise, things can spiral out of control, like we did with McDonald's and or with even like Air Canada, and then
Oh,
like they're liable now for what their chatbot said. So like you have to continually check in on things. Are they working the way that you intended? If not, you need to pivot. And yeah, definitely that will create so much more trust when you're like, look, we do self audits, we do protect your privacy in this way, this way, this way, and we keep the human in the loop. I think those three things, I think even just noticing myself kind of go like, oh, yeah, like that does feel like a relief
yeah,
if I were to hear somebody say that. And definitely a really good point about small businesses cannot afford to not set that scaffolding in place because you have everything to lose. You know, a
right.
big corporation, McDonald's, Air Canada, right? They have lawyers, they have attorneys, they have they're enormous companies, and if it's just you as a sole proprietor, like you stand to lose everything that you have worked so hard to build. And so doing it well, doing it right, and continuing to monitor those things is so crucial. And thank goodness there are people like you in the world to help us do that.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, you have taken really big and courageous steps, not only in your career, but also in your life. As some of our viewers might be considering for themselves, maybe perhaps moving to another country, or perhaps if they haven't launched their business yet, maybe they're thinking about leaving corporate to do that. So, after decades in corporate tech, you made an intentional exit and reset and reinvention of yourself. What mindset shifts helped you to move from that corporate world into the entrepreneurial world that you have right now?
The hardest shift, um, it was learning that I didn't have to have all the answers before I started. In corporate, I was rewarded for having a really good plan, a plan that's figured out well. As an entrepreneur, I had to get comfortable with figuring it out as I go. I had to make sure I was okay with it. So that was my biggest learning and biggest mind shift. Um, there were three big mindset changes that hit me hard. One was from execution to vision. In corporate, I asked, how do I deliver this project on time and under budget? As a business owner, I ask, What impact do I want to create? And who do I want to serve? That's a
Mm-hmm.
fundamentally different question, especially when nearly 50% of employees are reporting they feel overworked and undervalued in traditional roles. From
Definitely.
Here's the second one, from authority to authenticity. My title used to give me credibility in corporate, right? Now, my story gives me that credibility. My vulnerability gives me that credibility. The fact that I'm willing to say, I don't know yet, but let's figure it out together. That's what builds trust. Another one, from optimizing systems to building relationships. This is very dear to me.
Mm-hmm.
Corporate, corporate trained me to think, process, efficiency, scale. But entrepreneurship taught me that relationships come first. The best clients come from genuine connection, not perfect pitch decks. If I cannot connect with you with what I'm telling you, I have lost you. And this resonates especially with women entrepreneurs who identify access to networks and associations as one of their top needs according to the to a research. This research was actually done by Cherry Blair Foundation in 2025. So what made this transition possible for me? I The most important thing is I gave myself the permission to pivot. Some
Mm.
ideas worked, some didn't, but I stopped treating every decision like it was permanent. That freed me to experiment, to learn, to iterate, to reinvent. In corporate, I was executing someone else's vision brilliantly. As an entrepreneur, I'm building my own vision imperfectly. And honestly, imperfect and mine feels much better than perfect and someone else's.
Oh, I love that. And I will say, like, I'm a recovering perfectionist. So, like, if any of you out there listening resonate with that, if you find yourself, like, not taking action in anything in your life because you feel like you need to have it perfect to even begin, trust me, been there, does not work. Because then you're just always stuck. You're always paralyzed and you'll never actually move forward. And so, yeah, giving yourself that permission to just go and experiment. And yeah, sometimes we have to make those pivots, whether it's in things that we do in our health, whether it's things we do in our business, in our lives. And like, it's okay to pivot. Like, I know our mentors, we have a shared mentor, and they say there is no failure, only feedback. And honestly, that was a really big shift for me because, like, even launching this business, I wanted to have everything lined up perfectly, like all of my ducks in a row, like have everything in place. And it's like, just go start doing the work. Like, you're not like, I'm not new to doing this work. I'm just new to creating this business. And it's like, oh, so I can just do this. I mean, yeah, sometimes you have to have some things in line, like, yes, and to give ourselves permission to not be perfect when we start, but to just start and to adjust along the way as we need, because that's one thing that is constant is change.
Yes. And our mentor also says progress over perfection, right? I've heard that so many times. And I'm the kind of person who over prepares. So I learned to kind of shift from there. And even if I'm half ready, I have to jump in and start doing things.
Absolutely. And I find that, sometimes being thrown in the deep end, we do learn a lot about ourselves and our capacity, and that we actually, like, we can do it. And it's a beautiful, although sometimes very uncomfortable place to be in. And yet, like, we don't know sometimes until we leap. So I love that you bring up those points. Thank
Yeah,
you.
and I have to keep telling myself I've done this before. I moved from one country to another, not knowing a lot of people. I moved from one state. I used to work in New Jersey and came to North Carolina and didn't know a single person. So I've done this before. So keep reminding myself, you can do this again.
Exactly. I do that with my clients of taking their strengths from past experiences, whether they're related to their current goal and what they're working on now or not. But like, what do they know about themselves that they can apply to this situation? And I find myself doing the same thing when things get challenging. Is like, I have been through, brain injury and being disabled and all these things, and then healing myself and getting help and all that. And it's like, oh, that's all the hard work. Like I did all that hard work. Like, like compared to that, I got this. And so yeah, it's like it's reminding yourself of the journey that you've been on, and for those of you watching, like the things that you have already been through, the strengths that you already carry with you, and you can apply them to whatever challenge, business or life or both. Like there's so much that you have in your back pocket that you can pull from, and sometimes it's just taking a moment to pause and reflect and go, oh yeah, I'm a lot stronger than I realized.
Yep.
Nice. Well, a couple final questions as we begin to wrap up. What's one practice or mindset, besides maybe the ones that you've talked about, or maybe they could be the same, that helps you stay grounded when things get uncertain or overwhelming?
Um, since I've come from a software background, here's what I keep telling myself. I remind myself that uncertainty is a bug, it's not a feature. I choose reinvention every single time. That means I choose uncertainty too. And let's be honest about the landscape, right? Burnout is at an all-time high, with 82% of employees at risk, and women face it at much higher rates. 41% of entrepreneurs cite managing cash flow and finding new customers as their top challenges. I have gone through it also. So when I feel uncertain, I'm in good company. Three things that keep me grounded. Um, my morning practice. I have a morning quiet time before I start using the screens. Just 15 minutes. Journaling, meditation. I do yoga and pranayama myself. That followed by some coffee. Again, no devices is the main criteria here. It sounds simple, but it's the difference between reacting to the world um, and responding to it intentionally. Um, the second thing I do is my network of fellow reinventors, as I call them, um, other women who made similar leaps. When imposter syndrome shows up, and it does,
Mm-hmm.
I can text someone who's been there, and they remind me, you have 30 years of expertise. You're not starting from zero. You can do it. And the third one is celebrating small wins. In corporate, I waited for the big milestones, that next salary increase, that next promotion. As a business owner, I learned to celebrate the small stuff, a great client call, a referral, a breakthrough idea. According to research, 81% of new business owners using Gen AI say it allows them to get more done, but only when they track those wins. Numbers are important. So the biggest change um, in corporate, I was always on. I was always on. As an entrepreneur, I'm learning to honor my own rhythm. Some days are building, some days are for rest. Both are necessary. Um, Uncertainty used to scare me. I mean, it scares everyone. Now, uncertainty is where the growth happens. That's the part I couldn't see when I was still in corporate. And honestly, that's exactly what women need to hear more of.
I could not agree more. being being comfortable with being uncomfortable. Like that is definitely one thing that I also have learned. And we talk about, a lot of people here are saying like we're in uncertain times. Well, you know what? Times are always uncertain. Things are always uncertain. And I think when you work in corporate, now I have not been in the corporate world, I have to admit, because I've been self-employed since I was 24. But there seems
Good
to
for
be,
you.
thank you, there seems to be a different level of certainty for the most part. Now, obviously, job markets change and things shift, but it seems like there's so much more certainty in what's happening compared to being self-employed. And so, like using those practices of meditation, pranayama, breath work, which as a yoga instructor, I teach and I implement those things myself and teach them to students. But I also do a visualization practice every morning, and that in and of itself, I mean, it changes the brain, it changes our brain waves. There's so much more than just like feeling good or calm. It has those effects too, but like there's so much more to it. But I love that you brought up the respond rather than react, because that's what working with my clients is. It's not all about that, but that is so much of the work, is so that we can go out into the world, whatever is facing us externally, and be able to respond to it with compassion, with confidence, where we can, with clear thought, without judgment, without bias, as much as possible, and so that we can engage in the world from that place rather than the reactivity. Because I mean, it's a whole other conversation, but I mean, what we see in the world right now is all reactivity. If you go on social media, it's all reactive, right? Like, I think we are in a world inundated and saturated with reactivity. And the more that we can come from that rooted place where we can respond, it just makes the world a better place. So, great job on bringing that into your world and into your daily practice too, because I see the change that it makes in my own life and in other people's lives. And, it has a ripple effect. So, you're doing, doing amazing work there. I love all those things.
Thank you.
So our final question that everybody gets asked as well is, what is your biggest takeaway from our conversation today?
Um, I think this is my general philosophy in life also. I think communities are very, very important. The conversations you are having with women and taking them back into that community, um, uh, giving them hope, giving them reason to believe they are not the only ones facing challenges. There are others who can help, who can step in and say, "You're going to be okay." That is very important to me, and I'm just so grateful that you're doing that work and taking it back to the communities. I believe in building communities and giving back, and I love it that you're also doing that, and I truly, truly am grateful for it.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And I think what stood out for me was I loved all the data that you brought in, and especially when it came to how women, that was interesting. That was news to me, that women are actually kind of more resistant and have more opportunity to embrace AI and different aspects of their business. And that surprised me. Yeah. And there's such an opportunity for us as women to bring in tools responsibly and to create that infrastructure so that we can free our time up, so that we can generate more revenue and really move forward with creating the vision that we have for our lives and for our businesses. And so, ladies, like, if you haven't embraced AI yet, like, Bina gave you lots of reasons today to consider the importance of that, not just for like generating revenue, which is important, but also for the sustainability of your business and for
Mhm.
your life, so that you don't become burnt out. Because the data is there, ladies. The data is there to support that most women are on the brink of burnout if they're not there already. And we do our work because we want to make it an impactful ripple into the world, not just for our own lives, but hopefully even, beyond, for generations to come. So if we want sustainability, we have to create a sustainable foundation. So thank you so much, Bina. I really enjoyed talking with you today.
Thank you. I did too. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Going to just say that for those of you who really got a lot out of our conversation today and would love to follow Bina and explore her work, know that all of her links and her information is going to be in the description below. So make sure to check out all of her work and connect with her. And to everyone listening, thank you for being here. If something resonated with you or opened up for you today, subscribe and stay connected for more conversations that support your energy, capacity, and leadership. I'll see you in the next episode.